The black hole theory. Or we're going to be making a game about a black hole and trying to research it. Now, the initial idea is you and a crew of peeps are researching a black hole and it gets weird, you know? Black holes are just cool, so that's just where the idea spawned. No, nothing really else to that. It's a black hole, why not? So first off, I started the project file. I'm going to be using Unity, Universal 3D. Alright, so after 1,000 hours of Unity taking forever, I finally created the player capsule and a little floor for it. And then I started working on the movement script, which obviously probably didn't work that well, but that comes on into later. But now we gotta look around, the look around script, which worked well enough. To start off, I knew I had to make a schematic for this entire thing because I've never made a spaceship in my life. Not in real life or in games. So I opened Blender and started putting my vision into work. Getting the entire foundation down and creating the walls. Luckily I've created structures before, so I already know how to do walls on a fairly basic side. Then I also made little doorways through for much later on when I can shove in the doors. At first I was gonna make normal doors, but that's not cool about spaceships, are they? And after importing into Unity, I realized there's plenty of bugs because I didn't do all the faces correctly. And bam, made a bed, although I will be changing that because you're not actually gonna be in the bed in the game. You're gonna be in a sleep pod. And after adding more to the schematics, I started working on a bunch more stuff, like a table along with some rudimentary chairs, which would probably hurt. Then I made a few machines. That machine literally didn't even matter in the final cut, but it's good enough. But now we got the food machine. The food machine is where you're gonna get your food and water. Now after making a bunch of stairs so you can go to the top floor, I then started working on the gym room. Along with that was a bunch of equipment, like this workout bench along with this treadmill that initially was gonna add a little mini game, but I'm too lazy for that, so that just happens. I also made another workout equipment. I always forget what the hell this thing's called, because who really cares about this equipment? But that's just like that. For food, I made a brick, because it's in space, so it has to be really well kept. And of course, just normal water. I'm pretty sure they even make water in the space stations now too. Onto the rooms, I started making a bunch of random items to fill up the space, make it look a little bit more lively in there. Also fixed up the bed so it didn't look like a block that you were just gonna lay on. Looked more like an actual bed, even though it's literally floating and it's gonna be encased in a giant pod, but makes it look a lot more normal. Even made a little chest on the bottom so it looks. I also made a console that will play more important to it. Also the main item I made, a toilet. The most important item in there, along with, of course you need some TP in there, along with the giant stand that will be on. Alright, so far this is the full space station. I also made a bunch of these crates to be in storage rooms. Make it also look a little bit more lively and a lot more like a space station. And you have to make sure to make them look a little bit more randomized so it looks realistic. Now onto the mid room. We created an IV stand or whatever the hell those things are. And then I also created a little med bed, which is just gonna be an actual bed, not in a pod, because you're not gonna go into stasis. Along with a little cabinet, just some extra stuff to fill up the room. I don't even know what I was doing up there. It looks like a cyclops. Also added a bunch of knives because of course, why wouldn't you want to make incisions in the middle of space? It's kind of fun. I don't even know what those are. Those are like bandages and stuff, but they're easy to make. They look incredibly weird in the game, so that's that. I also added some chests and also those little blocks right there. When they're textured, they're gonna be medkits. Now I also made a container that, what it's gonna hold? It's gonna hold a bunch of these collector units. These collector units are gonna be, just taking a bunch of data samples from the outside space. Completed version. Then I added them to the collector storage thing. Also made a giant bunch of screens over there, make it look crazy and tech whiz. Even created a mouse and some keyboard, which I never used. Or did I create another collector? You're gonna put the collector unit thing in. Now these are gonna be on the ground and you insert them in, and a low indicator device. Boom, there we got it in Unity. Now I could use a normal texture, but I like doing dumb stuff. So I took a bunch of pictures of the ground and just mess around with them and start adding the textures to random walls and grounds. In the end, I basically used it for almost every single thing in here. Now another creative thing that surprisingly worked, even though I had no idea if it would, is actually turning this into a universe. Literally the ground, the dirty, gross ground, turned into a universe, which it basically is on the microscopic level, but that's different. Now here's an early version of the outside, along with the black hole. The black hole doesn't even have any effects now, it's literally just a circle that I put on. And I started adding the characters, because the characters are going to be the main point in here, the main people you're going to talk to, and I'll mess around with. And boom, after making a bunch of systems to talk with them, here you go. Peak dialogue and very philosophical. Something to get your mind racing, completely percolated. Full convo script and entire dialogue system. Alright, so this is how I'm working on the atmosphere for right now. I'm using two things in here. Number one, I'm using a mouse. So I'm going like, just kind of simulate wind pressure, like, the wind just cutting into the ship or whatever. And so you got that done. And then I put in something that was even better. I let my computer fans just go away. So this is it. This is pre-processing, so I haven't put anything on here yet. I'll let you hear some of the big whiffs. I'm not sniffing though. I'm not sniffing in here. I'm just, I'm not sniffing though. That's what you need to know. So this is the second iteration. This is kind of supposed to be like that weird, deeper, not like a rumble, and it kind of sounds like a sine wave if you ever hear these spaceships later on, like movies and such. I'm up it so you can hear better. No, it sounds like a vacuum or something like that, but I'm gonna do a bunch of processing. For instance, I'm just gonna slap a ton of reverb on it, and then I'm gonna cut off all the high end for both, honestly, just so it kind of, just doesn't sound very grating on the ears, because it's supposed to be outside of the ship. This is what we got. All right, but before I finish, I decided to end it off with a few little tapping. Boom. We got is the jumping sound and the drop sound. Fortunately, I had a drawer that was actually made out of metal, so I could just use that, put my palm on it, kind of like hit it, but like not hit it. And then this is, just a casual tap. Next one is the walking on the metal. You're walking on the metal. I still need to delete some of that high end, but it's just again tapping it. This is supposed to be the door. The door kind of slides up. I just slid my hand down the drawer and made this sound. Then I took which piece I wanted and then made it rise up and then go down at the end. Next is somehow the UI click. All I did was just smack the handle of it with my finger. Next up is like supposed to be the eating sound, because if in the game, you're eating from a brick. So it's supposed to be the sound of a brick. It's not complicated how I made the sound. That's the drink sound effect. Alright, next up we have some computer ambience. This is fairly simple. I just got the 3x oscillator, put whatever the hell. Then I just made them go back and forth between octave. Kind of makes you think that there's something there, but there's not. Alright, now this is the black hole atmosphere. They're basically just a white noise. And I think this is a box fan preset on there. I alternated some of these to give a little bit more uniqueness throughout the entire thing. Basically, I just distorted it like crazy and added a ton of reverb. And on the master, again, distortion, taking out some of the high end so it feels even further away. And again, more reverb and soft clip route. Honestly, I don't even really need that. Yeah, just basic ambience, you know? Alright, so these are gonna be my vocals for all the characters. I'm gonna do all the rest of them later, but just wanted to show the process of them. I did them all, and then, I'm gonna cut all the stuff I don't really need and all the mistakes. I put them all to a single track. Number one, I basically just denoised it and limited it, and also took out some of the sibilants. And then I added it to a effects channel.
Luckily, that sleep wasn't too long. Hopefully, the ship is still fully functioning. I doubt.
So this time I wanted it to be a lot more reverbed, a lot more spaced out than the other one from Rob a Bank, because that was just harshness and sounded like complete low quality. This one I wanted to sound low quality and a bit crunchy, but I wanted it to be a little bit more smoother. Or how's it going, everyone? This is how I made the main theme for the game. So first we're going to start off with some Xenology, of course. Got whatever some pad is. Just this is gonna be full on ambience, I don't really care too much about the chords and whatever it's doing, but I just add distortion, chorus, flanger, reverb, and then boom. In terms of music theory, though, basically I was just doing whatever the hell on F sharp, minor and major, and just switching between them, doing a bunch of random stuff like a bunch of diminished. So next is again expand, the soft saw that's also on the lead. I just wanted it to be in the background to have a little bit of motion. I added crush, just a tiny bit of crush and down sample, then a reverb. It has tension and stuff, that I didn't let resolve, so we'll get to hear that. There's an analogy instance where this time I was using whatever that is, pad. This I don't think I redid too much with. I just kind of accentuated the middle, which I honestly probably don't think it matters that much. I kind of set down the down tempo, like it's sad, like it's somber. Then this sets off kind of like it's kind of creepy, kind of like eerie. Also kind of like what's going on. This one was kind of another one like the expand, where it's just like rhythm, I guess. This, I used FL keys and do anything. There, all I did was just delay, very short delay, very strong delay, and then a bunch of reverb, slapped on too much reverb. Then I don't know, I just picked random notes and started arpeggiating them. I don't really care too much about these being too audible. I just kind of want, again, under a rhythm and kind of just the arpeggiation where you hear different areas of it standing out. Next up is Vital, which I just used to make a bass. It's very, very simple bass. Put a sine wave, then I FM'd it to a saw wave took out the highs, which apparently didn't do enough because I had to do it again. So it's just basic. All right, this is how it all comes together. We got this. Really like this one. I like that note. It just goes, it hits that low. It really seals the deal on whether or not you should be doing this or not. Alright, that's how you make it. Alright, that's most of the stuff on here. The game should be out once this comes out. Make sure to check it out if you want. It's free, it's on itch. It's basically just like a visual novel, you know? Like you just continue going and progressing through the story.
Do you know anything about it? Yeah.
Anyways, that's it. I'm gonna see y'all later. I'm gonna try to get more stuff out quicker and faster.
And can you believe he was saying
See ya.
implementing the emergencies